Good morning, guys. Looks like it's gonna be another beautiful day. You're probably wondering why I'm sitting in my pajamas with no makeup and I look a bit ratchet. Well, got this infection in my eye, and a lot of you know that I have like an immune disease, and so that's not uncommon for me to get infections sometimes. And so I put a hot press on it and I cleaned it out, but I am not about to put makeup on and make it worse, which is why you're getting me au natural. Well, actually, there was a time like 5 years ago, I would never step out of the house unless I had my look, the perfect hair, the perfect makeup, the perfect outfit, because God forbid anybody saw this. And then I broke my arm and everything changed. And then I was totally dependent on my husband because I broke my dominant hand, my left hand. And he had to do the cooking and he had to help dress me and shower me. It was very humbling. But the one thing he wasn't going to do is put on makeup because that's just not what he does. So I had to go out like this. And the first time I walked out, I'll never forget, I was like, people are going to shriek and run. They're going to hide their children. But the funny thing was they didn't. Most people just came running up to me and embraced me and said, oh my gosh, what happened? I ended up finding out that it wasn't this that they loved. It was me. So what does that have to do with the topic at hand today? The readings were great today. Please go and read them. You can find them online, Catholic Daily Readings. There's no excuse for us not to be growing in holiness right now. But today was from the Book of Wisdom, from the Old Testament, written by King Solomon. And it was so interesting because the people were talking and they were like, let us go and destroy that person. And these are wicked people. Because they make us feel bad about ourselves, because they tell us that we're doing something wrong and we don't want to be told that we're doing something wrong. And who do they think they are judging us on what we do? Let's throw them out and see if God will come and save them if they are so with God. Wow. I mean, we've seen a lot of videos on haters of faith, right? And that kind of viciousness comes out and you can see it. But a lot of you, the older you get, you go into an environment like your high school and you hear it from people's mouth. Like, who do they think they are with their teachings? Oh, so you are a hater. And, you begin to shrink back into yourself because you're a little bit afraid to be the child of God when people are like, who do you think you are? Which ties in so perfectly with the gospel today, because Jesus was going to the Feast of Tabernacles, even though he knew people were out to kill him. Which I just want to do a side note right there. The Feast of Tabernacles was very much like the Jewish people going and praying to God. Our church is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. so that we can remain social distanced but pray in front of Jesus himself. I heard a priest talk today that they don't even have that option, that they've had to lock down their churches and lock people out of the churches completely. And his faithful were outside the window at 6 a.m. when they do adoration hour, kneeling on the concrete. That's how desperate they were to get in front of Jesus. We are so blessed that Father Collins leaves the doors open. So, on beautiful days like this, grab a ball and go to the church. There's plenty of property, plenty of spaces to keep social distancing, and go in and spend a few minutes with our Lord. Sorry, side note. But back to the gospel. People were sitting there looking at Jesus going, isn't that the one that the Pharisees are trying to kill? And he's just like, here in Jerusalem, like, don't they know? Because Jesus was like talking to the authorities. And they're like, did they figure out he's the Christ? And then they're looking at each other like, he can't be the Christ. We know where he came from. And when the Messiah comes, we are not going to know where he comes from. And Jesus turned around and looked at him and said, so you know where I come from? Well, yeah, you do. But ultimately, where I come from is a man you've not met, is a person you've not met, because it's God. And he's the one who sent me. So you may know where I come from, but the reality is, I come from God. Fear. Fear to say anything to someone. Fear to stand out. Fear to be different. I mean, that's a big problem for us as Christians and for young people in general, but not just for young people, for people my age also. I remember we were on a trip. It was the EWTN trip, and I remember specifically Maria Braun and Brandon and Olivia. Oh my gosh. And of course, as I do, I was telling ghost stories we were staying with the Benedictine monks, and I was just sitting there telling some ghost stories. And I just remember Brandon, he was like so stoic, and he was like, I'm not going to get scared. And I turned around at this perfect moment, and he shrieked. I literally thought that the windows were going to break. I was like, okay, stop. So when it was all said and done, and we had a good scare, it was really dark outside and kind of cold. I said, okay, we're going for a walk, because I saw an old church and a cemetery. See, all the monks, they get buried in the Benedictine grounds where they live. So I thought it would be really cool to take a walk. And as we were walking, you could see there was this long line, and there was all these different, posts, and down at the way, and you could see this church, and it was lit up, and you could see a cross, and it was really creepy. And everybody was Olivia was holding Maria, and they were screaming, and Brandon was just, no, why are we doing this? And some of the rest of the kids were like, this doesn't seem like a really good idea. It's the middle of the night, and it's dark, and it's creepy. But it took us forever to get down there. And once we did, we saw the graves, and I allowed them in silence to walk around. And there was this adorable church. That's where they do the funerals for these Benedictine monks. And it was as soon as we got there was no fear. It was really great. And we sat down in this graveyard, and we prayed the Divine Mercy. Not only that, we meditated to a beautiful song, and all of a sudden, all of that fear was gone. And we walked back, and the next morning we went out to look at it, and it was like the Stations of the Cross were on the posts, and it was a really short walk, not a long walk like they thought, and we laughed at it because our imaginations and our minds, they got us believing that there was something dangerous and scary out there. I liken that to the readings today for a lot of reasons, because it was such a beautiful moment. Had we not taken that long, scary walk, we would have missed that perfect, tranquil, quiet moment where we just sat and prayed and breathed. See, sometimes you gotta risk it, and this world that we live in and the people around us, they can really scare us into having to go to school every day and look exactly like we are. We have to have exactly the same kind of clothes that we have, the same kind of makeup, the same kind of demeanor. We walk through the halls in the very same way. What if after all this was over, you decided to uncover, au natural, and you did a Brandon, Maria, and Olivia walk, and you were scared, you clung to each other, but you did it, and at the end of the day, what you had was this perfect moment of peace that never could have been repeated if we had done it during the day. What if you actually became holier? Hey, you know what if you're laying around playing Fortnite, DJ, Jackson, and a heck of a lot more of you. And instead of that, you decide to step away from social media, step away from Netflix, step away from the games, and grow in holiness. And then you walk back, and after all of this tragedy is over with, because you have suffered and you have been isolated, and you know what Christ felt like, when he was walking, and you go back into the halls of your school, and you smile at more people, and you say hello to your teachers, and you don't give everybody this salty, guffy look. You decide, no, I'm not. I'm going to use it. I'm going to be more like Christ, because ultimately when I hit my destination, when I walk through this scary world, what I really am is not what I portray to people looking at me. What I really am is son and daughter of Christ. And my destination is heaven. And I don't want to be stuck walking this lonely, dark walk forever. So while I've got the time, and God is sitting there saying, hey, I'm punishing you all, go to your room, maybe we should take it and use it as an opportunity to grow in holiness, to be those people kneeling on the outside of the church because they knew Jesus was in there. Grab that Frisbee, go visit Jesus. Grow. Get out your journals and start to write down, these are the ways I'm going to change. These are the things that are going to make me a better me. I'm going to love more. I'm going to give more. I'm not going to care what people say about me. Who am I to think that I'm good? All of a sudden I come back and I'm like a saint. Who cares? Walk that lonely, dark walk. Walk it. Walk it with a few people who want to walk it with you. And then become the face of Christ. Become who you were meant to be. Daughter and son of the one true King. Be not afraid. All right, guys. That's it for today. Love ya. Don't forget to download Zoom. We begin classes on Wednesday.